previous kanang session, the one for JS basics. Okay, so naka-attend tanan last meeting. Attend natural break. Okay, so sorry sa delay ganina because na ay technical problems sa Zoom. But okay, so Christians Seville. Na wait lang. So, Nakay, do you have like a background with JS for those who did not attend? Or like no idea yun? Okay. So, okay, ina lang. Pwede ba ta mag-conbre? Lex, like quick refresher lang siguro before magsugod for advanced con. Sa like run through lang about con. Saan ni sila? Okay. Sige. So same last meeting, we'll be divided into breakout rooms and yeah. Sige. Sige, Zach. Do the honors. Going once? Sure. Okay. We currently have 6 participants. So, sakto ba, Zach? This is 6 max?
Yup.
Yeah, 3. 6 times 3. Sige. Okay, so let's start right away. This is already JavaScript advanced, but I'm going to have a quick run through about the basics. Let me share screen 1. So I hope you can see my screen, not this code. Okay. So going back, let me open lang a folder. I think that was third year GDSC. What did I name that? Okay. Okay, so quick run through lang of with the basics for those who did not attend last meeting. You can, so I'm going to use na lang an online compiler so that it will be a lot easier to output. Okay, so first is variables. Variables are like compared with C, you do not use int or float, or you do not declare the type. They are immediately inferred by JS. So you just write let or const. So const is for constants, let is for changing variables. So for example, if I type let x equals 5, you also don't need semicolons, or you can also have that for clarity. Const pi equals 3.14. So that's how you declare. Now to log them to the console, you type console dot log and then the variable, or you can type the value. So x logs 5, pi logs 3.14. You can also, if you don't know the type, then you can have type of and then pi, the variable, and it outputs a number. If I change this to a string like my name, then it shows a string as the type. So it's automatically inferred. Next is, so what did we discuss before? Mm, Arithmetic. So basic arithmetic, you add two numbers through plus, you minus through the dash symbol, you multiply through asterisk, you divide through slash, and then modulo, which returns the remainder is percent. So um, for example, where's that? If I do console, console.log 10 mod 9, that returns 1 because 10 divided by 9, its remainder is 1. So it returns 1. So if it's not clear, so that's it. Very, very simple lang. And then next is for comparison. So you have greater than, you also have less, greater. I'm just going to say it now. And then less than, you have equal to, denoted by 3 equal signs. Compared with C, na you do 2 equal signs only. And JS, you do 3 for strict equality. Next, you have not equal to, 2, also 2 equal signs, and then an exclamation point. You can have greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, and I think that's it. And then you also have logical operators. So you have and as well as or. So the difference, if I'm going to say, let x equals 1, let y equals 0, and then I log x and y, that should be false. So if I'm going to explain it, the AND operator, so if condition A is true, which is denoted by 1, or some value, like if A contains a, let's say for example, a string, that's already considered true. So anything that has a value is considered true. And then, so for example, if it's 1 and then condition B or variable B is 0, that returns 0. 0 and 1 also returns 0. False, this is false. 0 is false, 1 is true. And then 0 and 0 also returns false, but 1 and 1, that returns true. Okay, so this should be Okay, I'm going to delete this. So that's 0 or false. And then if I change y to 1, then that should be 1 or true. And then the or, for the or, this is the symbol for the or, and this is for the and. So if A is 1 and then B is 0, that's true. So as long as a condition is 1, as long as it's 1, uh, either of the condition is 1, then it's true. So if A is 0, B is 1, that's still true. 0, 0 would return false or 0, and then 1, 1 would obviously return true. So for and, if anyone is 0, then if anyone is 0, any of the conditions that returns false. So that's like very simple to remember lang. For and, if na 0, then automatic false. For or, if na 1, then automatic true. So that's for the comparison. Now you can use these comparison operators as well as your logical operators inside if statements, conditionals. So if, let me do the variables na again. So let's say we have here 75 and say 95. Let's say the grades. So if I'm going just to math. So let's say you have 75 at math, bro. And then here is science. So math greater than science. Then so this is the syntax. If math greater than science, so something like that. Or let's say you want to test for a range. So let's say for senior high, I think the dean's list GPA is 85 as far as I remember. So let's say you have a GPA of 86. So how do you test if that's, a valid, I think that's 88.5. So how do you test if this is a valid GPA for the dean's list? So what you can do is GPA. So you want to test for a range, diba? So 86, let's say that's between 75. You want to test for a range which is 88.5 until 95. So that's the range you want to test. So how you can go about this is to compare the GPA. So as long as the GPA is greater than or equal to 88.5, okay? So here, as long as it's greater than 88.5 or equal to 88.5 and GPA is less than or equal to 95, then you can output, no, you are in the dean's list, or I think that's the rector's list. Next is the else if. So what if, let's say you're not in the dean's list, but you didn't fail either. So you're going to test again for a range. If GPA is greater than or equal to 75 and GPA is less than or equal to 88.5, then you can say you passed. Diba? You passed. And then else statements have no condition because like this has no condition because this is your last resort. This is the last condition that will run. If all of these will go false, if else if will go false, as well as if your if statement will go false, then you have no other option but to run the else. So this is why you have no condition for the else statement. So you can type here console.log fail. So if I'm going to run, so you passed because the range is between 75 and 88.5. Okay. So what if I used OR here? So of course, even if I input an invalid grade like 100, that would still detect, because this statement will come true and this statement will go false. So that's still true, diba? If I use OR, which is why I used AND. So if, let's say, let me prove that it's 100. So yeah, you're in the dean's list, which is not supposed to happen, because there's no 100 grade in USC. I think that's it for conditionals and comparison operators, as well as your arithmetic. Next, let's move on to loops. For loops, I think it's easier if you, let's say, so far, are you guys following ba? Is it clear lang? If you've had programming before, I think JS is not really that hard. Kita tong kuan. Okay. So is everything good lang ba? Especially for the, I think that was Chris Shan. Sakto ba? Akong pag kuan. Wow, grabe. So, wow, asa, where's that? Katong wala naka-attend. Okay ra? Saan na to? Okay. Ako lang, mo padayon lang ako. So, the next is loops. So, let's start with arrays. Basic of loops is you have an initializer. You declare it with let, because this is your counting variable, and your counting variable will always move up. So it doesn't remain constant, which is why you use let. So let I, you start with a value. That's your initializer. Next is your condition. So as long as it's, let's say, count to 10, then continue. And how do you reach 10? You increment I. You add 1 to I each time the loop runs. So it's like 4, you have I equals 0, I is less than 10, and then I plus plus. So the first iteration is I equals 0. And then the next iteration, it checks if I is less than 10, which is true. True. So it increments I, which is being done by the incrementation here. I plus plus is just equal to I equals I plus 1. Okay, so that's just to add 1, simply to add 1. Shortcut. And then, so now I is 1, and when it checks to this condition, it's still true. So it continues to run the loop. It continues to run I, to increment I. And then it's still true. And then increments I again. It's still true until it reaches 9. So when it reaches 9 and it tries to increment I, 10 is not less than 10. This is now false. So your loop will end. And you're just left with 0 until 9. So let me prove that by logging I each time we do the loop. So yeah, 0 to 9. Okay, so let I equals 0, I is less than 10, you have your condition, and then increment I. You can even increase I, let's say, by 2, and then it runs until 8. As long as it's less than 10, you can even increment by 5. So that's 0 and 5 lang. Okay, so let's just use 1 or I plus plus. Okay, so that's for loops, and then you can do anything with loops actually. You can have an array. So an array is just a linear data structure that holds values. Murag, similar to a list. It's just a list, literally like a list. So array is equal. Let me name my array ARR, and then we'll have Zach or team. Then you have here Zach. You can place anything in the array, like 10, and then you place another, let's say, function here. But this is not recommended. Please don't do this. It will lead to a lot of bugs in your code. So this is really bad practice when combining. Please do not combine types inside an array. So if you want this for string, then use it solely for strings. So you type the names. For example, this one. Example. And then how do I get each value here in this array? So I have 3 elements. So I'm going to set the loop until 3. And then, so an array, you can get the value of an array. Let's say you have an array X, Y, and Z. X, and then the name of the array is ARR. So you can get X by using ARR 0. So it starts at 0, and then this is 1, and this is 2. So Y is ARR 1, and then Z is equals to ARR 2. So I could just, if my loop increments each time it runs by 0, 1, and 2, because 3, it won't reach 3 because 3 is not less than 3, so it stops at 2. I could just console.log ARR I. And if I do that, I core team joke. So core team. So let me run again. So here, so you have the names here now. Okay. I think, yeah, I think that's what you only need for the basics. Let me check else if for loops functions. Okay, we'll discuss that today now. Okay, so what we're going to talk about, sorry, no, kita ko, is arrays. We'll start with arrays. So arrays are basically your best friend in, even in large applications, you still use a lot of arrays. It's basically arrays. So you declare an array by using row left or const. Depending on how you want your array to be, you want it to change, then use left. You want it to not change, then use const. So left, let's say kung ano siya, dating. So the midway. We go to this. And then let's say this is matches. And let's say we have names here. So it's called and then si yung ngalan mo. So nice. Okay, so let's say we have these matches. How do you display array values? So you can go console.log and then the name of the array, and then 0 would be the first element, and then the last element would be 0, 1, 2, 3. So if I go 3, then it outputs honey. And then if I go 0, the output will be. How do you output everything? So you use a loop. So for left I equals 0, I is less than. So how do you get the length of the array automatically? Like what I did was I already know the value of the length here. I know that this is 4 elements.
But what if I didn't know? I was just given an array. So you use, so the name of the array, name dot length. So in this case, it's the matches dot length. And then I plus. You then output also the plug is high. So it starts from 0, it goes to the length, which is inferred by JS to be 4, and then it increments each time the condition is true. And if we run it, get that. Okay. So is everything good, Baba? Is everything good? That's just the basics of arrays numbers. So let's move on to di makita siya. Okay, so let's move on to um I think we can move on to higher order functions. So suppose you want to have let's say you have an array and then you have numbers here 2, 4, 6, 8. So what you want to do here, you want to multiply everything by 2. So of course, the approach, let's say you already have the background, no? Your approach would be to um, let me introduce another method called push. So if I use ar.push 10, this adds 10 at the last part. So if I log the array after I push it, after I push the value, so you can see that it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And then if I pop, so arr.pop, no arguments, just arr.pop parenthesis, and then I log the array again. So 10 is removed. So here we have 10, and then I pop the array, and then 10 is removed again. So that's just basic push and pop for arrays. So you can also use unshift. So unshift adds an element to the first part. So unshift uh, adds element to the start of the array. So if I go arr.unshift, say 1, and then I log the array again, this gives us 1, 2, 4, 6, 8. And then if I go shift, then I'll be CSX. Uh, Shift removes the element at the first. We log it. So shift removes the element at the first part, and unshift adds an element to the start of the array. Like that's it. Push, pop, unshift, shift. Unshift and shift for the first part of the array. Push and pop for the last part, the end of the array. So let me go back. If let's say I want to, the goal here is to multiply all elements by 2, and then return a new array with the new elements. That's the goal. So how would I go about this? For example, of course, I'm going to create a new array with so. So currently it's empty, and then I'm going to do 4, and then I'm going to cycle this entire array, multiply it by 2, and then push it to the result and log out the result. I'm going to return the result, diba? So 4 let I equals 0, I is less than arr than length, as I've said. So we get the length of the array, and then I is plus. Then so first is to multiply element by 2, diba? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to have a variable, so const new value is equals to ARR I times 2. And then I'm going to push this new value inside the result. So result dot push new value. Or I could just like do this, like remove this now, and then just immediately push this, like something like that. I could do that. So I'm going to do this na lang because it's shorter. So result dot push the element, current element times 2. And then I'm going to log out. Once the loop ends, I'm going to log out the result. Like that's it. Diba? And we have exactly what we need. But there's an easier way to do that. And it's using higher order functions. So let me introduce you to the map function. Okay. For the map function, let's say I have the result. I could just go arr.map, and for every element, return element times 2. And if I log out, let me explain that later. I'm just going to remove this na lang. Or not. Back out. Ay, joke. Reassigning. Okay, so as you can see, guys, I have the same result as the one above, and it took like, I don't know, it's just one line. Amazing. So this amount of work was done in one line. So what exactly is map? So a map takes a function called a callback function. So let me, I know, to make it a lot easier, like when I was still starting in JS, this is also very like great for me. So let's create our own map function. So own map function. So it takes in what? It takes in your array to modify, and then it takes in a function, which we will call action. So what is this action? This is the function that's going to happen inside your array. So in this case, the action here is the element times 2. So if we're going to do that again, that result was something like that. And then for and then here, I'm going to result dot push and then action and then arr I. So this is similar to what's happening in the map. You have a return value, which is an array, and then it loops through the entire array, and it does this. It does the action inside the array for each element. So in this case, our action that we will pass here is times 2. You multiply the element by 2, and then you return the result. It's similar, but here, this is what we call a callback function, or I don't know, an arrow function. It's callback function. So a shortcut of saying function shortcut. It's not shortcut, but it's also a syntax. So function do this, and then it takes in e, and then return 3 times 2. It's just similar to that. So what you do first is you enclose your arguments in parentheses. So in this case, you have e. You can call this element, but we change this here. Or if you want to be really explicit, then you current element, but it's harder to see, so I won't go with that. So you name what you would call your current index. So in this case, I'm going to name each element of the array to be element. Okay, it's that simple. The first argument for a map function is the variable that you want to call each of your elements. So in this case, I'm going to name it elements. In the real world, you would be given data. So for example, it's a user data. So your map function should look like that map, and then user, and then you could say return something here, like do something with this data about the user. So, but here, this is just a very basic example. You could also name this number. So for each number, do for map this number into this, and then you do the arrow symbol equals and then greater than symbol, and then what you want to do for each number for each element that you have in your array. That's the syntax. Okay, like it's not from the top of my head; it's from the docs. Sorry. So first, you have a number. You name your ano what you want to call your element. In this case, number. And then what is the action for each element? Like it returns what? In this case, I want to multiply every element by 2. So if you also notice, I assigned it to result because map here returns a value, returns an array. So I need to assign it to somewhere. Next is for each, very, very similar to map. So I'm going to follow along. So I do not need to return this because for each just does, for example, number times 2, it does that, but it doesn't return the array, the new array. Map returns an array, but for each, like just uses a copy. So let me demo that. Here are the for each, and then number, and then number and 2. So I could do that, and so I could do that, and it still won't throw an error because even though I don't assign this, but I could show this by using console.log through everything. So it's undefined. I could console.log na lang. Console.log number times 2. So yeah, so 4, 8, 12, 16. It doesn't return anything, it just does something to your element. Well, whatever action you specify here. Next is filter. For filter, it's very similar to map. It still returns an array. So result is equals to filter. Let's say I want to return numbers. Ano lang? Let me change this to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And let me run it again. So here, not by 2. Let me remove this. Okay. So I want to let me check something. I want to return only, let's say, odd numbers. So I want to return odd numbers only. So this should return 1, 3, and 5. So arr.filter, and then you take, again, you name it. So let's say number, I want to name each and every element here as number, number, number. And then the return value here is your condition. Like what's the condition for this? Like it's similar to like a sieve. Like what will you allow to flow? What elements will you allow to flow inside the sieve? So this is your condition. So I want that the number mod 2 is not, let's say it's not equal to 0. So we know odd. Let's try that. Yeah, 1, 3, and 5. So um, the condition here, you filter. So you have a number, and then you return um, every element which satisfies this condition. So when it goes to 1, it checks that is 1 mod 2. Or to make it a lot simpler, if you divide 1 by 2, is the remainder not equal to 0? That's true. So you return 1, and then it goes 2. 2 mod 2 is equal to 0. So it doesn't satisfy this condition. So it removes 2. Next is 3, and then 4, and then 5, so on and so forth. So that's why we have 1, 3, and 5 for the result. So remember, map to return a new array given an action, filter to return a new array again given a condition based on what condition, on the element where the condition is true. Okay, whichever element now this condition is true, it returns it. It includes it in the final result. Okay. Next, last higher order function is reduce. So let's say I want to add everything here, 1, 3, and 5. So result is equals to result dot sum na lang, sum is equals to result. So reduce not doesn't return an array, it returns a value. So how do I know that? Just search it online. It doesn't return like compared to filter as well as map, it doesn't return an array, it returns a value. So result, since I already have this result array 1, 3, and 5, I could do result that reduce. So what's the argument for a reduce function? So it takes in another callback function which has 2 arguments, the previous value and the current value. So if that's hard to see then. And then it gives you an action, what to do with the previous value as well as the current value. So if I want to add each and every element here, how would I go about it? Like if I have 1, 3, and 5, this is when it first starts, this is my previous value as well as my current value. So how would I add it to, how do I increment this now? It adds to everything. And then it returns 9. Yeah, 9. So what you could do is to use the previous value and then plus plus equals value. Right. Okay, that's correct. So previous value is equals to previous value plus your current value. So first you would have, I think, let me look at the now. It's a lot. It's a lot better explained here. This one. Yeah, don't be afraid to do this. Yeah, for example, this one. You're given an array 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Your first call for, so of course you'd have 4 calls because this is already included na in your fourth call, your 19. So your first call for the reduce, you'd have your previous value to be 15. Let me zoom in. And then your current value to be 16. So it's not, so it's actually the next value. So 15, 16, and then don't mind the index lang. This is just to denote which, like the position of the element you are in right now. So it's 1 for 15. So the return value is 31. And then this 31 will carry over to the second call, the second iteration of your reduce, which is the will be now your previous value. And then your current value will be 17. And then, so don't write down the equals, it's 48. And then 48 will go to the previous, and then the next value again, which is 18. And then 66 will go to the, so on and so forth. So if higher order functions, basically, they eliminate the need to do a lot of for loops in your arrays, because most of the times, a lot of array, let's say, a lot of developers, when they do something with the array, they're very repetitive. Like, I want to do this for each and every element of the array. I want to do this for each and every element of the array. I want to add everything. I want to sort. So why not just create a function that takes another function to do that, which is a lot shorter and a lot more. I think this is a lot easier to read. So you have, again, for reduce, you take a callback function inside your reduce function, and your callback function, reduce callback, will take in two arguments, previous and current, and then it returns your previous value, aggregated to your current value. So previous plus equals current. So the current previous is equals to the current previous equals to the current value. Okay, so far so good, guys. Is everything understood ba? This is actually a very topic, very important. Like, I use map every day in my life. Any questions, guys? Because I can explain. Balik. So of course, please don't memorize. With constant practice, you're going to like get the feel na of how you're going to write it. So don't worry if you cannot memorize. Just how do you do the map? Like, here, this MDN is a very nice documentation for JavaScript. So map. So you just go here and then you try run. So it's now 2, it's 8, so it's array 1 that map, and then something like that. So you could even see here what's the syntax and your parameters. So the first parameter of a map function, as I've said, is a callback function. So the function is called for every element of the array. Okay. So each time the callback executes, it returns the value to your result or new array. So please, don't memorize. Just keep it chill and look at the documentation if you forget something. And another one. Did I forget? I think the last one would be the spread operator. Not so. Let's say you have const A equals to 1, 2, 3, 4, and then const B equals to 5, 6, 7, 8. How would you combine these elements? So I could just, let's say const C equals to A and B. But what if I output C? So I'd have something like this. I have like, a 2D array, diba? But I do not want to have a 2D array. I want 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6, 7, 8 continuously. So this is where the spread operator comes in. So it basically spreads. I don't know how to explain it. So let me show you na lang. So const C, you just add 3 dots. That's the spread operator. And then for B here, you just add 3 dots. So if I log C, that's it. It's now spread all throughout. It removes its ability to be an array. It just spreads the values out. So that is how you can combine arrays, an array with another array. A very common example for this is use this together with map. Like you'd have the previous value of the array, and then you want to add something to it, but you do not want to have it like, let's say this is the previous value of the array. You do not want to have it like previous and then the new value. So what we do is what we return instead with our map function is a new array, but here we're going to spread previous and then concatenate the new. So that is how we're going to return it. So of course you'll see this in practice soon. Well, we're going to move on with, I think, strings or lex. So please, last call for questions about higher order functions. So remember lang guys, that's map for each. You also have filter and reduce. But there's a lot of higher order functions. You have sort, you have, I don't know what else. Yeah, that's it. Sige, please ask questions. If same ang value inside the array, mo double ang entry when you combine. Like what do you mean? Like for example, if B is similar to A, like for example, if I make this similar, 1, 2, 3, 4, something like that. Yeah, like it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, and then another 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can eliminate duplicates, but that's for later na. You'd have to use something like a set. Okay. Yeah, it's basically that's it for spread. It just straightens it out. It removes the array and then just places it, embeds it in another array without it being an array. Okay. Any questions? Like especially for map, filter, and reduce. Like you guys, get it lang ba? These are very important. Okay lang ba guys? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so don't worry if you have questions. You can PM me on Discord, or we also have an open forum by the end of this session, so don't worry. Okay, I'm going to transfer you over to Lex here.
Okay, so can you see my screen? Good, sir. All right. Okay. So for string methods, okay. So I don't know if nakagin with strings in your C class, but a string is basically a set of characters. The character is basically this: A, B, C, D, E, H, L, 1, 2, 3. Those are characters. So to declare a string, you can just do something like, wait, I'll try something. Change. Okay, doesn't change. Matter. So to declare a string, as always, I use const, since I'm not gonna be changing anything for now. And then we have hello. Yeah, okay. Zach, I prefer Zach. So we have a string with character ZACH. That's basically a string. So you just declare a string using either a double quotation. You can also declare a string using single quotations or backticks. Okay, so backticks can be found on the wait, let me go keyboard. Okay, so it can be found near your escape key. So you just do double backticks and then the characters that you want. Okay, so that's how you declare strings. So what's the difference between double quotation and single quotation? These two are the same, basically, but they allow you to just not escape this thing. You don't need to do something like this. Instead of your double quotations, you can just write them instantly. Zach's mansion. And then for single quotations, you can do something like Zach console.log, x console.log, y console.log z, I'm in a. Hey, if you run it, wow, it's gonna take some time. Okay, so there you go. You can print the um, apostrophe and then the double quotations without needing to escape them. But if you were to use the single quotations inside of a single quotation enclosure, it's something like this. You should throw an error since it sees this as a string, then it sees this up to okay, up to I don't know where. Then it sees this up to the end as a string, so it should throw an error there. So this one is a string, and then it sees this also as a string, so it's an invalid token. So you'll have to do an escape by using a backslash so that you can use the single quotes inside of a single quote enclosure. The same thing goes for this one. Okay. So for this one is a special use using backticks, but we'll dive into that later. For now, we'll do the single double quotations and single quotations. Okay. Do backticks later. Okay, so there are a lot of things that you can do with strings. You have rat includes index of, replace, split, and substance. Okay, the most important one here is split, but we'll do first rat. So what's rat? Okay, there's two ways to access values in a string. Okay, so there's two ways to access values in a string. Since string is basically just an array of characters, so you can do this like a normal array. So you can just do something like x, then access it with a bracket, 0. Okay, now you get z, since this is the first element. Let's say I want this element. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I want s, get s. Okay, you can do that. You can also do dot bar at 5. Okay. Yes. So what's the difference? What's the difference between car at and using indexing? So this one, in the past, when Internet Explorer was still alive, i.e. 7, we use car at because Internet Explorer does not support this. So, but now, since Internet Explorer is dead, we don't need to use this. We can just use the indexing. That's basically it. So it's just preference at this point. I want to try this though. Will this work? Okay. Okay, so there's no a special case for carat, unlike arrays where you can use negatives. Okay, so basically now this is not really necessary. You can just use indexing if you want. Okay, so that's how you access elements within an array. Now, let's go to the most important string method, which is split. So split returns an array based on a character that you want to split from. You can also pass regex, but regex should be discussed in another time since it's a very long topic. So x.split, okay, I'll change this to a time, something like 12 o'clock in the morning, then 1000 seconds. 0. Something like that. Okay, so now this one is the hours, the minutes, hours, minutes, seconds, nanoseconds. Something like that. So this is the most common use case. So you could do accessing, something like x0 and then x1 to get the hours, and then you can do another one like you skip this, you go x3, x4, get the minutes, so 12:00. But that's a very long task. So what we can do is instead split it, turn this into an array where everything is split based on this character. So let's take that character and pass it as an argument in x.split, and then you have on's time here. And then you can do a map function, like time that for, I'll just use a for each function there. So time that for each element equals console.log. Was discussed by jury, and then you can just see everything. So we have 12, the hours, the minutes, the seconds, and then the nanoseconds. So that's a much more quicker way of splitting a string into subsections that you want. So basically, that's the most important string method since you'll be using it a lot. So split, and then we have accessing. And the next string method that you would be using a lot is includes. So we have split includes. So includes basically check if a certain string or a certain value is found inside of a string. Something like, let's say, we have something. So fonts, I'll comment this out first. So fonts Z is equals to, let's go back to Zach's mention. Then we have the console.log B that includes. This one returns a boolean, either true or false, if we can find the string. If not, then it's not gonna do anything. So Z that includes Zach, true, since it can find this portion of the string. And if you put Zach's, you cannot find it anywhere, although there's this, but it has an apostrophe in the middle, it should return false. Okay, that's basically it. And to check if mansion is included inside of the string, just add mansion, true. You can do a character, like if A is included. That's basically it for includes. So it's just for checking if a substring or a character is inside of a string. Okay. We have includes, and then we have index of. This one just returns the index of a substring, or again, a character inside of a string. So for example, if I say Zach, it should return 0. If it's not gonna return a 0, okay. So why 0? So it checks here that matches Zach is actually found inside of the string. And then it returns the first position of the first character of the string. So this one matches with Z, this one matches with A, C, and H, and then it returns the position at which the first match was found. Since Z is 0, then it returns 0. If I match for mansion, then you can predict that it should match here. It should return the position of M, since that's the start of the first match. So that is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That should return a 7. That's for index of. We have index of, we have includes, index of. Okay. That was quite quick actually. Okay, so any questions so far? To clarify, blank spaces are also strings, no? Yes. It also be strings. Yeah, something like this. Yeah, it's a white space. It's also a string. You just print blank. You can also check, I think, Z that includes, since we have a blank space inside of our string. True. Since this is a blank space. The index of, return the position of this blank space, 6. Okay. So can we use a blank in split? Yes, you can also do a split using a blank. So we have a blank space here. You can do a split. You should get Zach's and mansion. Ah. Another use case for split, aside from blank space, you can also, we have a something like, for example, you have a notepad and you have random set of numbers like something like this. You just copy that notepad and then split it like this. Use a backticks, enter. This one is separated by new lines. So you can take, wait, you should throw there. Wait, a dot split, dash n. You want to split by new lines, this one. Since I want the numbers and this one are split by new lines, so I'm going to split it by a new line. Then you have this. Okay, so I guess, okay, any more questions for includes, index of, and split? And array accessing, string accessing. Damn, that was actually quick. So we have replace and substring. We do concat. I don't do concat. Okay, so backtick, yeah, backtick is for multi-line strings. And also for interpolation, but we're gonna discuss interpolation after this. Okay. Okay, let's go with the next most important string method, which is replace. So not the no letters, const AB. So we have replace. Okay, let's just use Zach's mansion again. Okay. Yes. Awesome. And command, we're gonna do a replace. So what happens with replace? If you take a substring or a character, then you do a replace. And then, so this is the string that you want to replace with. So awesome. And then this is the string that you want to replace with the string that you have found. So this one returns a string, I believe. Or does it? Yeah. It returns a string, so now you have Zach is crazy. Say, let's see if the original string was not mutated. Okay, it wasn't. So this one returns a string, and it replaces this value, the one that you want to match, with a new value. Okay. That's replace. You can also do regex as always, but we wouldn't be discussing regex here since it's a long topic. Okay, try another one. AB that replace A with Z, no, with P. Okay. So with replace, it only replaces the first instance that it finds. So for example, for this one, there are two A's that we want to replace, which is this one and this one. However, we can only replace the first instance that it finds. So this one. And this one would still remain as A. That's what happens here. That type is awesome. So if you want to replace everything, does it replace all? Forget the method. How to replace all. Okay, Google is your friend. It should be replace all. Replace in stock highlighting. Ah, well, this is supported. Yeah, I guess they should be supported. That's sad. Okay, I guess they should support it. But it depends on your Node version or your web browser. Some web browser supports replace all instances or occurrence of this string side of this string. So you have to keep in mind first instance you're gonna replace. Unless if you use regex, and I guess you could do a global. I know it's still not gonna replace all the. Pretty sure it's not gonna replace all. Oh, okay. So if you use regex and input a global na flag, then it should replace everything. Okay, but we wouldn't be discussing regex, so sorry for that. So first instance rename. Okay, next guy we have substring. So we have replace, we have substring. So for substring we have ab dot substring. So substring basically takes a string, a substring, from a bigger string. So for example, let's say I want the string that is formed from starting here, 0, with a length of 4 characters. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So run, stop. Okay. And what if I want to increase the string and make it reach here? Is. Okay, no, let's extract is. So that starts at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 5. And that is length of 2 since I and the S. Yes. And for the last one, let's extract awesome since we have, so this one is 5, 6, 7, 8. You can just omit the length if you want it to reach the end. So this one just starts at 8 and then goes to the end of the string. That's it. You can also input negatives. So this one would start here, E. So -1 starts here, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, so on and so forth. So if we select -1, it starts here and then goes to the end. This one just returns E. So if we want to start at S, so -1, -2, -3, -4. So any questions for replace and substring and the previous methods? Does it matter ba if ang string naka-initialize as single or backticks? Would you call the string using double? Wait, naka-clear na example for that one. Would you call the string using double? It doesn't matter on semi-initialization for single backticks or double since they all work the same. It just depends on your use case. Since most of the time backticks is used for string interpolation. Single and double usually for pure strings. Strings are partners. I just use double kay. I don't know, I'm just used to it. Pero some workplaces, yeah, they use single quotations for all their strings. Then sometimes ilan nang i-enforce na rule na single quotations yun ang strings. For me, I prefer double kay. I'm just used to it. And then I use backticks if I need to quickly interpolate some variables. Okay, so let's discuss backticks later. Okay, so other questions aside from replace, for replace substring index of includes and split and accessing. Then we can discuss backticks and concatenation. No? No more questions? Okay. Okay, concatenation. Kanilang kay, mas simple. There are two ways to concat strings in JavaScript. We have cons, y equals a stir. And then I want to add an ing at the end. You can do something like xy plus equals ing. You should throw an error, I believe. Not then. Okay, you should throw an error since this is a constant. So if you want to modify a variable, always use that. So stir, and you want to add ing at the end. We have console.log x thing. Okay. Okay, yung log pala ko dito. Let's take this out. Thing. Okay. Aside from that, we can also do xy.concat ng. This one, you can just use const, since concat returns a new string, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. And print console.log xy, it should not be modified. Okay. So that's two ways to concatenate. You can do a plus equals, or you can do a concat method. But the difference is this one is much more preferable since it's much more self-explanatory and less typing. Okay. That's concatenation. And then if you want to work with ASCII, so ASCII values, you can do that card code app. So let's see. What's the card code for S? Just do console.log xy. Let's get S, then card code app. You should return. Oh no, I don't think this is ASCII. Yeah, I think it's ASCII. It's UTF-16 na format, not UTF-8. So just be wary of that. So what's the difference between UTF-8 and UTF-16? I'll leave that to you na lang. What's the difference for that? I can explain it. Okay, so we have this. So the part code for S is basically 115. Okay, and then if you want to convert a card code into, what do you call it, into a character, you can do something like console.log string.from card code 97 for lowercase a. A is the 97, and you have a. Okay, so you have car code at and from car code for working with ASCII values. I think that's most of the string methods that you'll encounter in your entire life. There are more, but most likely you're not gonna really need them at really a lot of times. Okay, so we have car codes, concatenation, substring, replace, index of, includes, and split. Okay, so now we can do backticks. So backticks is really useful since, let's say for example, you have a name, and I said, Zach lang po rin. Wala, dati mo Zach. NP, okay. So you have something like this. And then you want to say, you want to create a greeting, like const greeting. Hello, I am. We want to do a string concatenation. Hello, I am. And then the value of name. Hello, I am name. And then you have age. Hello, I am Zach. I am plus 8 years old. Okay, and we log the greeting. Okay. Okay, to put on to, let's say I want this in a new line. Hello, Zach, I'm 20 years old. This gets a bit tedious, especially if taas tayo mo string na i-work on. So that's where backticks come into play. So instead of doing this, okay, backticks greeting, you can do something like backticks, hello, I am, then followed by a dollar sign, and then squiggly brackets, curly braces, squiggly brackets, curly braces. So hello, I am name. And then you just pass the variable. You can also do operations here like 1 plus 1. You can just pass a variable. Hello, I am name. And then I want it in a new line, so just press enter. I am $H years old. Okay, and this one should output the same thing as this one with a much more cleaner syntax. So be great. Okay, there you go. So that's the most important part of backticks. It's multi-line, and it also allows you to interpolate variables inside of it without the need to say plus all the time and do concatenations. So that's the beauty of backticks. So I guess that's it. So we have backticks, ASCII, concatenation, substring, replace, index of, includes, and split. So, beauty of Zach. I am beautiful. And okay, good snack. So, any questions so far for strings? That's most of the things that you're gonna need for strings. No questions?
Yeah, so once again, guys, yeah, that was a lot of like information, pero please read the docs like it always. If you forget something, like I know that this tree can be, let's say, combined, but I do not, like, I forgot the method. Like, it's not illegal to do that. Okay. Illegal sa school, guys, for exam. Okay. Okay.
I guess my questions.
Wala na. Let's get some strings. Okay, so let's move on to Brian for objects. objectify you. Wow.
Wow.
Ang sel. Ang sel.
Okay, guys, last push now of the evening. Yeah, this topic will be relatively short compared to the last two, so at least there's that. So yeah, if you guys are still alive, just message in the chat guapo Zach or Zach guapo. Ano lang. Nice. Okay. Okay, nice. Okay, you guys are still alive. Okay, so this last topic is basically gonna cover JavaScript objects. So um, we'll just get through the definitions first. So what are objects? Objects are just a collection of related values and functions. So if you've done programming before, like in C, then it'll be yeah, it's gonna if you've done C before, it's a lot like a struct, or if you've done Python, it's a lot like a dictionary. So I'll just write that down now. A collection of related um, values and functions. And then yeah, that's basically it for the definition. And then so going on to like actually defining an object. So for to make this a bit more interesting, we'll build off of what Lex has been doing for the strings section. So for this section, our object will be called Zach's bio. So the way to declare an object is you just enclose it in curly brackets or curly braces, and then in here is where you put your values and functions. So we'll be going through the values first. So what are some? So yeah, again this should be the information in here should be related to each other. So thinking of like Zach's bio, what would we need? We'd need Zach's first name, Zach Ryan, and then last name. Okay, guapo, joke lang. Machakon, I think. Na. Wait, let me check the participants na meet. Yeah, Machakon. Yeah, correct na. Macho Papi. Macho Papi na lang. Macho Papi. Okay, so this is an example of a basic object. So these are the values. So the way an object is defined is you have a name and value mapping. So it'll kind of look like this: name and then value. So yeah, for example, first name, this corresponds to Zach Ryan, and then last name, this corresponds to Macho Papi. So if we want to access this, so example, we want to print. Oh, so let's just print the object first to see what it looks like. So Zach bio. So if we run this, we get this. Yeah, we get the whole object, which is correct. So first name is Zachary and last name Macho Papi. And then if we want to access individual properties, so these are properties. So again, properties in objects are just a name, like another alias for value. So if I'm mentioning the word properties, I just mean like this value. So if we want to access the value of Zach Ryan, we do Zach bio dot first name. So if we print this, yeah, we get the first name, and then so there are two ways to access a property in a JavaScript object. We have this dot notation, and then we have I think this is called bracket notation. First, so it's kind of like accessing an array. Now you have a square bracket, but then in here you input the property name you want to access enclosed in double quotes, so it's like a string. So if I print this, you see it's the same thing. So these are the two ways you can access a property inside a JavaScript object. So so yeah, let's say we want to print Zach's. Yeah, let's say we want to print Zach's full name. So to do that, we'll again, if you listen to Lex's discussion earlier, one way we can do that is using backticks. So in here we put Zach bio dot first name and then space, then Zach bio dot last name. So if we run this, you can see it prints Zach's full correct name, Zachary and Macho Papi. So yeah, if we But then like you can see that even with this notation, it gets kind of lengthy. So for example, if I wanted to print Zach's name, like not just here but then somewhere else, or let's say I had to print Zach's name like 5 times somewhere in the file, I would have to write this like every single time, and then you can see that it gets really lengthy. So, and if you repeat yourself a lot, and then that's something that we try to avoid, especially when it comes to big projects. So this is where the functions come in. So in an object, you call a function is called a method. So again, in an object, a value is just a property, and then a function is a method. So the way to define a method is very similar to how you would define a normal function. So you'd get the name. So this is the name. So in our case, our name is, let's say, get full name. Yeah, get full name, and then this corresponds to this maps to a function, and then this function will just return. Okay, I'll just type this out first. So returns this dot first name, and then this dot last name. So if I print this instead, print Zach bio. I'll print this out first. Get full name. Hopefully this works. Okay. So yeah, if you notice, if I write this and then I console log it, it prints out the same thing. So I'll explain what this does. So get full name again is the name of is basically the key for this function. So when I say get full name, it calls this function. So in this function, we're just doing something very simple. We're returning the first name and last name. But then, if you may have noticed, there's this keyword. So what is this exactly? So in this context, the this keyword just refers to the object that is being referenced. So when I say this dot first name, I'm just saying Zach dot first name or Zach bio dot first name, because if I do if I take out the this, you can see it'll return an error because it says first name is not defined. So if I don't include the this keyword, JavaScript will interpret this as like some variable. So it'll think that it's like some variable out here, that's some value. So because it doesn't look inside the object. So the way to tell the way to tell the interpreter that you should look inside the object for this specific value, you have to add the this keyword. So yeah, again, the this keyword just refers to the object being referenced. So yeah, as you can see when I print it, it's the same thing. So yeah, that's what methods are. They're just functions inside objects. And then so yeah, moving on to nested objects. Oh yeah, do you guys have any questions? Or like, am I going too fast, or is the pacing okay? No macho papi. People's choice. Yeah, keep in mind, don't use arrow functions for them. Yeah, because when okay, so just a share ko lang na when Lex and Jury were discussing their respective topics, I was actually testing this, and then when I tried doing arrow function at first, and everything broke. So yeah, words of caution lang. When you're creating a method, you don't use the arrow function like this. You make sure you're using the function keyword. So something like this. Because I'm not sure of the reasons why, but then it just works differently with arrow functions. So yeah, if there are no questions, we'll move on to nested objects. So what nested objects are, as the name implies, is just an object within an object. So for example, oh, okay, can we use a different alias other than this in Python? As far as I remember, as far as I know, in JavaScript, you have to use the this keyword because that's what it's really for. You can create an alias for it. For example, like this. I think you can do this. Not const self equals to this. And then you can print self and then self. Still work? Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. So it does work. So you can create an alias, but then in the sense that you just assign the this keyword to a variable and then you reference that variable. But then other than that, I'm not sure if there's an alternative keyword to this. Fonts can be used like, yeah, it can be used like define. So yeah, it can be, but then yeah, I guess you can say it like that. It can be used as a constant. So yeah, within the scope of the function too. Wait, what do you mean by this? Within the scope of the function, like type def. Uh, like, could you elaborate? It will unbind this. Um, I'm not sure if that's how it works in like JS. Lex and or Jerry, do you guys have any say in this? Because I'm not really familiar with this. Yeah, with that for concept. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So if there are no other questions, yeah, welcome. So if there are no other questions, we'll move on to nested object. So again, an object within an object. So let's say Zach has oh yeah, we forgot to add um CPE,
Crush,
GPA.
crush niya.
Oh, and someone I don't know his crush one. CPE, GPA na lang para 1.0. I'm not sure if this is true, but we just need it for a dummy variable lang, dummy value ba? Okay, so yeah, we'll leave that there for now. This is just to demonstrate that yeah, these values can be any of the basic data types we told you guys about. So yeah, yeah, so next up is nested objects. So for example, let's say Zach has associated na media links. So yeah, to declare of an object within an object, it's just the same notation. So it's still curly braces. So the media links references an object. So let's say he has a Facebook. I'm not gonna put his actual Facebook in because I don't actually know. Joke. Facebook.com slash Zach. Okay na. Um, what is shift? Um, for yeah, so Facebook and then LinkedIn. HTTPS facebook.com ay Facebook na sad linkedin.com Zach. And yeah, last but not the least, HTTPS tinder.com Zach Guapo. Now, so let's say this is yeah, let's say so this is basically a this is an example of a nested object. Um, so yeah, if we want to access this, again, you can just to access it, you can just use the dot notation or the bracket notation. But then in this case, I'll use the dot notation. So so yeah, so to access it from outside the object, we do zach.bio media links tinder, for example. So if I print this, it accesses the value inside this. So if we want to access a value inside a nested object, we just keep on repeating the notation. Yeah, we just keep on repeating the notation until we get to the level we want. So I go to Zach bio and then I go to media links and then I go to Tinder here. Um, then you can also you don't have to be consistent with the notation you use. So for example, I can do Zach bio dot media links, but then when I access his Tinder chart, I can do bracket notation, and then I think yeah it'll still print out the same it'll print out the same thing. So yeah, you don't have to be consistent with this, but then I would personally I prefer if it's consistent, so it's yeah, so it looks cleaner. Um, yeah, besides that, one of the last few things I want to discuss is it's just like another quick trivia about objects. So um, if you so for example, if I want to get instead of having to print his instead of having to use this to just print his Tinder profile, I want to do something similar to get full name, where I can have like a Tinder profile get Tinder profile function to retrieve it for me. So I'll write this out first. think this is how it works. Wait. Yeah. Get Tinder profile, return this dot. So again, I'm using the this keyword to refer to the object itself. This dot media links dot Tinder. Then wait, so Zach bio dot get Tinder profile. Yeah, so it prints out the same thing. So I did something pretty similar to the get full name, but in case if you didn't notice, I didn't have this. I didn't give a name to this function. Like I just wrote the function right away, and this is something that JavaScript allows. So in this case, if you don't have a name associated with a property or a method, JavaScript will automatically make the in this case it will make the function name the it'll make the function name the name of the property. So this whole thing is just equivalent to if I did this. Yeah. So this is the same as what I did as what I had earlier. I'll just rewrite it. Tinder profile. Yeah. So this is equivalent to this. In this case, I explicitly declared a name, but then in this, I just went straight to naming the function, and then JavaScript will automatically consider this the name of the property or the name of the method rather. Always remember to place the key in quotations. Okay. So yeah, again, there's no difference between these two. It's solely up to mostly your preference lang. So yeah, an example for this with properties is hold on, let me delete this. Um, what's an example for this? Let's just try this couple. I don't know if this will actually work. I don't know if it's actually global. Joke a bit. Wait. Zach bio dot is local. I'm not sure what this will return, but let's see. Okay, it's global is not defined. Sorry, Zach. So yeah, but yeah, this is a bad example. But then yeah, again in JavaScript, if you're writing an object, you can at least here if you don't specify the name of the property, JavaScript will automatically make the function name the name of the property. So yeah, you guys have any clarifications for that? JS is so buggy. Yes, that's why we use TypeScript. Can we nest objects inside objects? Yeah, you can do that. Um, yeah, you can actually have an example. I think. Not sure how this will work though. Hmm. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can. Um, I'm, yeah, I'm pretty sure you can. It's just that it gets kind of confusing if you're having a lot of levels of nesting. Let's try though. Um, this works. Links that get Tinder profile. So what I did here is I just transferred the get Tinder profile. Oh wait, I have to get rid of this. I transferred the get Tinder profile to inside the nested object. So let's see if this works. Okay, it still works. So yeah, you can nest properties and methods as well. You just have to be careful of your level. So like example, when I had it out here, wait, let me just Control C. So if you notice now, when I had it out here, it was this dot media links dot Tinder. But then when I place it in here, it's just this dot Tinder because this refers to the media links object now. So I don't have to refer to media links anymore. So yeah, just be careful of the levels of your nested object when you're doing stuff like that. Oops. Const media link. Or no need to put constant. Yeah, you don't have to. Uh, okay, so okay, I'll move on to the last thing that I'll discuss, which is just the delete keyword. So, in the way this works is if you have like a property here, or yeah, if you have a property or method here that you want to delete, you can just use the delete keyword. So, for example, I do I print Zach's GPE, GPE, GPA, zachbio.cpe.gpa. So wait, I print it out. Yeah, it returns 1. Then if I delete it, um, zachbio.cpe. So this is the syntax for if you want to delete it. So you have the delete keyword and then you put in the property that you want to remove. So to see if this works, I'll print the same field, the same property again. And yeah, you can see here that before this 1 corresponds to the GPA before the delete, and then after the delete it becomes undefined. Because if you try to in a JavaScript object, if you try to access a property that isn't actually here, it'll return undefined. So for example, oh yeah, like the isguapo thing earlier. So console.log. I try to access zachbio.isguapo, but then guapo isn't a property here, man. So yeah, it'll return undefined. So in this case, this is one of the I guess like problems also with JavaScript now. This because undefined doesn't throw an error. So technically to JavaScript this is completely fine, but it's undefined. So yeah, just be careful with that. And yeah, that's basically it for object. The basics of objects at least. Yeah, you guys have any questions?
Kaya guys, good ra mo guys. Good ra mo guys. Good ra ka ba? Kaya ba? Okay na, nari ko i-add gamay lang. Gamay lang yun. Can actually, the amazing thing about JS is you can, method chaining. So let's say, nakoy array. Let me copy it below. And then I want to go crazy with this array. Well, result is equals to, I say ako siya times 3 tanan. So here that map, then e times 3. And then I know that this returns an array. So I want to sort this. So that sort. It takes 2 arguments. Kamo na discover kung nganong masort siya. And then a minus b. And then I want to filter only for odd numbers. So that filter. And then I want to combine them into a single string. So let's see this combination. And you get that 3, 9, 15. So if you multiply this by 3, and then you sort them, and then you filter it, add numbers, and then you join them all together to be a string, a single string, then you get the result. So it's possible to do this. You chain methods. So yun lang. As long as you know the return value, like if I use reduce here, I know that reduce doesn't return an array. So if I try to do sort chained with reduce, then that won't work. Okay, it will throw an error. Okay. So yeah, that concludes our day 3. Any questions before we conclude some shit? Any questions, guys? I know na medyo kuhan din siya, no? Especially higher order and then the strings and then objects, it's a lot of information to take in. But once we do the project next meeting, you'll recognize a lot of these things already na. So you'd remember probably na, this one is the one that returns an array. It's important that you can familiarize the function. Prioritize familiarizing what the function does rather than the syntax. You can search for the syntax, but it's important that you know how the function really works, so that when you're faced with a problem, then you'd have an approach, and your only problem would be the syntax na lang. So you'd have an approach. Let's say I'm going to multiply everything by this number. So how do I do that? Oh, there's that method pala. So what's that again? No. That's a lot more. And then if you're going to do that again and again, you'd be you writing these functions would be very, very natural na lang for you. Okay, any questions? Questions, guys? Feel free to ask. Pwede ra kanang number ni Zach, okay, na nga questions. We entertain all types of questions. Wait, guys. Type daw, I love Zach daw. Angular. Oh, nah, joke. Uh, okay. Although we are a Google club, to be honest, we love React, which is from Facebook. React is a lot easier. It's there are three currently, power frameworks right now in the lead. So that's React Vue. I think Vue is taught in DCISM for CSIT, I think, and then there's Angular for Google. Um, among the three, React has the lowest learning curve, and it's the most popular of all the three frameworks. And then I think the difficulty it's followed by Vue, and then Angular is the hardest. Yeah. With Angular, you need to learn TypeScript, which is the higher being of JavaScript again. And that's another topic for another day. So for November, I think we're going to teach React just to keep the momentum going. Yeah, it's basically JS with data types. So when I said earlier that JS is so buggy, that's true because when you have a really large application and then you have no way to determine the types. So your users can just, I know, like they can pass a value without you even knowing what the type is. So it's better to be strict with your types so that you can detect your bugs even before you compile your program. So that's the beauty of TypeScript. But that's once again that's out of scope now. We won't probably teach TypeScript. We'll have a workshop for it, but it's not us who's going. But React, guys, guaranteed job in LinkedIn. Wow. React is very, very popular. Like if you search LinkedIn right now for React Vue and Angular, React would have probably the highest number of search results. Yeah, JavaScript with Type-C. Okay. Questions? Any questions for that? Is everything understood or? Okay. Okay. So for next meeting, you can tell also your co-department friends as well as your um, I think this is open to all, but we'll now make a project next meeting. That's 29, I think, October. Yeah. We're going to build a simple project where we combine HTML, CSS, and JS. So that's where you're going to see how these three how these three technologies would interact with each other. You'd have your tags, you'd have your styles, and you'd have your behavior through JS. Diba? Amazing. Okay.
Okay, so do you
So
have no more questions for Jury, Bri, and Lex?
na boss.
Okay, so silence. I assume silence means yes. So again, guys, for tradition, please turn on your cameras and let's take uh
Ay, kundi.
picture for day 3.
I-compile, we're going to compile the code. Wa pa ninyo na-close inyong tabs. Bright, Lex. Na-close niyo, Lex.
Close na po. Pwede na, suot balik.
I closed mine, said, but then I wrote everything on VS Code before.
Sige lang, by this week, we're going to send you like the entire file na for this in Git. So you can just reference lang the code. Para gaan-gaan sa
Alex, you can take the picture for this one, Raza.
Sure. Wait.
Okay, okay. Let's give everyone like 30 more seconds to turn on their cameras. How are your midterms, guys? Or wala, or is it not yet finished? I hope everything went well.
agbo.
Ito mo tama, please.
If if you failed your midterms, there's always season 2 for that subject. Napay finals, guys. There's always finals. Don't worry. Okay.
Guys.
Okay, let's take the first picture now. Okay, so the first picture will be just a normal smiling photo. Lex, you can just key us in.
Okay. You ready, ready. Okay, position everyone. And pose lang. Yeah, smile. Smile. Peace.
All good, all good.
Peace. Oh, boy, dali kasi sa 3, 3, 2, 1, cheese. Okay, goods.
Okay, so for the second photo, last photo, guys, the GDSC pose. You just do this.
Okay. 3, 2, wait. Okay. 3, 2, 1, cheese. Alright, all goods.
Okay, thank you so much everyone for joining day 3 for becoming a JavaScript crush. So don't forget to leave feedback for today's
Yeah, sorry kay ganina sa Zoom, guys. Dito na ako sa, guys.
yeah, we're very sorry guys. It was an issue with SSC Zoom because most
Yung account, guys. Ikaw mong account.
because student organizations just borrow Zoom from the Supreme Student Council. So I think their license expired. So we have to talk about it with them. So we're really sorry for earlier. And I hope daghan na mong nakatunan today. And I hope it leads to good projects which you can flex on your friends for not joining GDSC.
Flex across, guys. Ayaw na sa friends, eh. Sa friends. Flex across.
Basin, what talk about ang sunod nga mo trending murag katong web dev gani nga mga projects sa Facebook para atong CSS nga face daw sa Crush. Kay gikan diri nga member ba na mohimo gid na nga project. We don't really know, guys. So yeah, feel free to reach out to any of us if you have any questions regarding JavaScript, HTML, CSS. And yeah, we hope we'll see you for day 4, our last day for
Yes,
falling in love with web
project
development,
time.
guys. Yes, for websites you will love. So, I hope nalingaw ra mo for tonight bisag dagag technical difficulties. So, yeah, thank you guys. Have a great night.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Hi guys.
Thank you.